Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Sean Surha, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Sean.
What's up, Rebecca?
We're spilling some tea today.
Sip, sip, everybody.
I'm kind of excited about this one, honestly, because it's like the first time we really are almost like talking to the hotties, like in episode.
Conversational.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did a few questions in early episodes where hotties were writing in a few questions or DMing us, but it was like one-off types of questions at the end of an episode. And today we're splitting it up too.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to be like kind of annoying.
There's some of these questions from hotties that we're not going to answer them on the public episode. We're going to move some of these topics because they're a little more sensitive to our businesses. Behind the scenes, you can get to them on the Loyal Hottie tier as a Loyal Hottie Patreon member.
So we would love everyone to join us over on the Patreon. It's only $10, and we're kind of weaving in some stuff about that in this episode too, just kind of what you can also get besides just those extra
It's not just
questions.
These extras are unedited and unfiltered stuff, but it's also other workshops and other benefits that apply to the Loyal Hottie tier. So if you want to know more, patreon.com/HYDC, or you can go to our website, hotyoungdesignersclub.com. And I think we're ready to like jam into some questions.
Jam it on the one.
What's jam it on the one? Is that a local reference?
Only old people know that. No, it's like the Cosby episode with Stevie Wonder.
What? Was that the song? The song was called Jam It on the One?
Yeah, that's what Theo said. Like, so they eat. Do you remember this episode? Have you ever seen it? It's like a classic.
This sounds familiar.
Even though it's problematic, Cosby and all, but.
Well, because Cosby is this the one where he sings like "I just called to say that"?
Yeah,
on
and then
episode?
They did like this remix where each kid like did a line, and Theo's was jamming on the one. So,
oh my god!
I don't know why I know that.
We're so hot and young.
1985 flashback here, jamming on the one. Okay.
I would have been watching that in syndication just as a.
I'm sorry, that was deep cut. Okay.
Yes. Okay. You do the first question. I think that's a good one.
Okay, so these questions we gathered from our Patreon members, as well as we did a little shout out on Instagram, a couple. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you, everyone who responded. So the first one. Okay, I'm reviewing my proposal process for the new year. So this was a few months ago, in hopes of creating a tighter process and establishing more authority over the design. So I've found myself offering too many options to clients in an attempt to appease them, but it creates too much work, confusion, and undermines my creative value. So she goes on a little bit about her background. So she needs a mindset shift and a process to support it. So very timely, because our episode with Shannon Lee that came out on March 31st is which just inside baseball is today, but not for you. So Shannon's episode, that's exactly what she talks about in that episode and the work she does with Blair Ends.
Yeah, episode 87. If you're already not listening, go back to it. And I honestly do really recommend, I'm like showing Rebecca the book. I really do recommend the Win Without Pitching Manifest. It's tiny. It's like a small, you can take it on an airplane.
Is it like a linen cover?
Yeah, it's a nice like black linen cover. It's 140 pages. It's a quick read. You figured if this was a full-size book, you'd get a lot more. But it really does talk about the mindset shift of like how to position your services, because you have to believe in what we're selling. And to this hottie's question, I think there's a little bit of to me, I read it as you're doing too much. Your job is to give a recommendation. And it reminds me of my banking career where it was like, there are a million different financial solutions you could give someone, but we have to do the job as the expert to narrow down and say to our clients, I recommend this. Like, think about it like like a really, like at a bougie restaurant and you have a fancy server and you tell them, I'd really like something with these sort of flavors. You're going to let them recommend the meal.
And honestly, that's a good example because the higher end the restaurant, the more I just want to give my choice over to them because I know they are the expert already. So I do that a lot.
Tell me you're special. You recommend it.
Tell me what the best thing is. Like, give me the like luxury service. Like, I'm too busy to think. Like, I can't.
Tell me what will make me happy.
I can't figure it out.
I don't have any food allergies. And that's our clients. They want, okay, I know you could do a whole bunch of stuff, which I think is valuable. They'll learn that from your investment guide. They'll learn that from your services page on your website. But then when you're actually creating a proposal for them, you're saying, I'm proposing this because of your need, your desire, your want, or your goal for X, Y, or Z. Like that's your job to say.
Tell them what they need.
Unfortunately, like you are describing a full service project. This is what a full service project would look like. Remember, I have other services, and if you think this doesn't fit with what you have in mind, I will create another proposal for you. But I feel like
that's a good point. That's what I do. A lot of times I create the proposal that I want to do, even if I'm like, oh, shit, I kind of need a job right now, but I still won't show them like designer on call. Like that's like on the secret menu. It's like the last thing I pull out of my bag of tricks. So like even today I emailed a client that I haven't heard from in a while. I'm like, if you need another solution, like let me know. I can get creative. So yeah, don't show it to them all up front. Let them tell you if they need you to change your deliverables, but don't ever cut price. I think don't ever cut price. Cut deliverables.
Cut deliverables. Cut the extension of your services for that. Don't cut the design. The design costs this much. Sorry. Like if you want me to take off a room, great. Let's take off a room then. If you will still do the project, if it has one less room, or if it
take
has
off a service level, like just do this.
If you want me to take off project management,
right?
Maybe we'll talk. Like I think that's where it's really clear for clients of, to me, I read this and it's like, there's a lot of services we're offering. Our job is narrow it down for the client. I think what you're describing sounds more like this. Here's what it would include. Here's what it doesn't include. What do you think? I mean, have that conversation almost before you're writing the proposal a little bit at your consults. So that way they know where they're heading. And if they go, I don't know, that doesn't really align with our project timeline, then you can fall back to another offering and get their permission again before you write the proposal.
Yeah.
That's a big one. We should do one of these ones from Instagram. This is a drama one.
I know.
How do you feel about
ones directly for you?
Havenly buying interior define. I have a lot of thoughts on that, which if you're looking for more, you can go to my Instagram highlights where I saved some about interior define. So I think that right now is really going to be a very hard time for a lot of direct to consumer brands and companies who are trying to move a lot of merchandise and acquire market share. I think it's a really competitive environment. I think companies, I don't know a lot about Havenly's financial situation, but what do I know is that I feel like now is a rough time to take on a company like that. And they've obviously invested a lot of money in that deal, and they're going to want to make it profitable. Don't you think? Like they probably have to get to a road to profitability like really fast.
Yeah, but they already have the clientele that they can just like push right into it. I don't know.
I still think it has an audience.
Sense. Like I don't know about the financial side of it, but it's like it's the same audience basically, right?
Yeah, they're selling to the same people. The challenge I have with it and why I've never spec'd it is they did have some beautiful designs. That's totally understand. I have problems with, they have beautiful designs. It's still essentially temporary cheap landfill quality furniture. It's cheap furniture. It's made overseas. It's not supporting US manufacturers. And sometimes I get it. You got to fit in that price point.
Which is who their audience is. They're paying $100.
Yeah, and we don't get there's like a minimal trade discount on that. So you're not really making a lot. And to be honest, I think that there are other trade vendors who make beautiful sofas for comparable price of various levels who would give you better profitability. Like
Trade
there's plenty of
accounts.
wholesalers. Yeah, we go to market and we see sofas that are still made overseas that are of comparable quality to Interior Define. And they give you a wholesale pricing, or they give you, you know, a much deeper 30% margin for yourself. Like, I'd rather have that. If a consumer wants to buy it as a designer, I would just let them buy it. I don't want to chase those anymore.
Yeah, but that's what
I'm saying. You want to buy retail, you buy retail.
It is the same audience. Like, how much is a Havenly design? $500? So they're already like not going for like quality, and now it's probably all AI.
I don't know. They could be. I think if anything, they must see a path to where they get to buy all that intellectual property. They own the designs for the sofas. Those are valuable just as corporate property. Like that, those could be sold to another manufacturing
operations and stuff. I think in a way it could be good for us because it's taking that level of furniture out of professional interior designers.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's categorizing it in line with, this is somebody who wants a quickie $500 design.
Yeah.
So you get a quickie couch to go with it. And we're calling it a couch.
E-designing, it's a couch, not a sofa. Yeah. There's a downgrade.
Comes with curtains.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm at. I wouldn't trust it because I still have a lot of fear about a company who they're going to have to stick around for a while and really show some stability before I would guide anybody who does my consults or anything towards Havenly / Interior Define.
But that's
I just don't trust
anyone that manufactures overseas still. I think it's all still super problematic.
Well, and I think the companies trying to make profit and they're
going to be pushing profit first.
They've got it. Yeah, they're trying to make money, and if something happens to that, let's just say some Interior Define just proves to be a really bad business model. Still, it just doesn't even work with Havenly running the ship. Then it goes down to I'm sorry,
that's a risk.
They got to show some stability for me before I would feel like that. I'd rather go to our trade vendors who have longer histories.
Yeah, let's be clear. Don't buy anything that has a 10 or 15% trade discount.
Let your client buy it themselves and they pay full price.
Then you have no headache. You don't have to handle any back end problems, which are 99% assured.
Yes.
Okay, so next cue. This one is from a contractor, somebody in my neck of the woods. We're not naming names. But their question is, what should a GC do if a project that's already designed and it's double their budget, the client's budget?
So probably the client's budget.
So if a GC gets a project that's already designed, but it's double the client's actual budget.
Like they're quoting it out and it's twice what the client wanted to spend.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is
part of this is like that old adage of it's twice as much as what you think. Number one. Number two, isn't some of this going to be aren't we all saying this recently too, that every project is twice what we thought it would?
Well, what
lately,
should the
every
GC
project
do?
Is way more than I thought.
What should the GC do? And then what should designers be doing to avoid this? Because this is kind of happening to me right now, but I didn't wait until it was fully designed before I got the clients.
You get a rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a rough. Now, I would, if they're already in and it's a completed design, man, I'm getting anxious just thinking about it because.
Well, I'll say what I did.
Think
so
there's a limit.
This just happened to me. So it's a kitchen and a bathroom. The client's budget was always a little problematic. I told them, I'm all right, this is really tight. But let's design it anyway, if that's what you want to do. And one of the options is we can phase it. So we'll do the kitchen now, the bathroom later, which is ultimately what they decided to do. So we designed everything, got a GC in to do some rough estimates. Yes, it's basically double what they wanted to pay. And so, we're just going to phase it. We'll do the kitchen now. And because they still want the full design, they want this is their forever
They don't
home.
want to cheap out on the finish.
Yeah, like they want everything to be the way the vision is. So the bathroom may be next year.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard because if you're like a whole home builder, I would be cutting stuff like
flooring.
I would be cutting down on, is there a lower level of flooring that we could offer? Or I would consider, are there specialty trim details or ceiling details that we could just do drywall and later we could add tongue and groove ceilings. Later we could build out the cabinetry. Like, let's just say they were like, oh yeah, we want this fully amazing walk-in I know it seems weird to Frankenstein a design like this, but I would rather just go with like a Container Store IKEA master closet and then later get my cabinetry and my built-ins put in there for my super supreme master closet. Because that could be 20 grand just in extra built-ins and custom made closet components. Like, so I think we have to just triage.
So like you kind of like future-proof the design. Like you phase it.
You can add cabinets later.
Like you can't change the flooring later. So like if like maybe that isn't the thing you cheap.
Let's be done. Yeah, let's be done with that. Some of these rooms might just be drywall boxes. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Like, I know you're not going to like that, but, and I know that contractors don't like that either. I get it. But like, for me, I'd rather have as many complete rooms as possible.
Yeah.
And that's usually going to be,
at the let's level, focus in first on like, level.
Yeah, like floors, windows, doors,
cabinets,
wet spaces, like bathrooms and kitchens. Okay, let's pare back that. And then put it in front of the client. If we pare back all just to the essential spaces, you know, you're not going to get everything you want out of the others. Do you want more money? Or do you want to put in more money or not? Like,
but this is also where the contractor and the designer hopefully have a good relationship, because this is like, as the designer, we're like, oh shit, there goes furniture. like,
yeah, I know. And that's hard because the family's going to move in and not be able to put any window treatments for privacy. Like, that's some bullshit. Like,
so we have to like save some budget for those finished items. Again, back to your finished room idea.
Yeah. I mean, my focus when I do this is always, what can we do in the kitchens and bathrooms? Because those, like, once the tile's in, the tile's in. We're not going to come back later. Plumbing valves, we're not changing those later. Let's get the right plumbing fixtures. But I do see clients sort of start to go crazy when they're adding on like a bunch of landscaping. And I'm like, okay, sorry. Like, I know you want your fancy backyard, but like, you don't have that. Like,
that's like a whole nother
contractor
house.
You could be spending that. So, and I know that for a contractor, I think probably if I'm thinking as a contractor, the hard part is what makes this a profitable job for me. A lot of times is those really large scale, like hardscape, a lot of like big investment work, which is hard because like I know for a lot of contractors, they're making like 10% at least off of their cabinetry. So I'm sorry, maybe we're having to cut some of the cabinetry budget. Like I think the hard part for me that I have is that some contractors are focused on their profitability and not on the fact that also designers may be losing profitability too when a project scales down. So we both have to come to the table and agree, like, do we want this project still, even if we both reduce our profitability? And I think that a lot of contractors have been in a position of power for especially the last couple years where they get to sort of say, well, if it's not over 400 grand, I don't want to do this project. And it's like, well, then you decide if you don't want to do it.
You can still decide that. Yeah.
But I don't think we should say it's at the sacrifice to the quality of what's left behind. And I don't know.
And our ability to make a profit, because we don't make shit off of any of the construction details unless you have a cabinet line.
Yeah, like even if you just said like a contractor did, like a $500,000 job, and let's just say that their clean profit is 10% is 50 grand. Like most designers would be lucky to do a whole house and get 50 grand. Like that would
on top of their design fees.
Yeah, like that feels like a lot to me. And most contractors most of them are like 20% when it's overhead and profit.
Yeah.
Like if I see a lot of bids where it's 20% is their clean number for overhead and profit. So then you're saying 100 grand on a $500,000 job. Like I'm not walking away with that. I think there is some of this. Yeah, I think there's some let's come together on this. And I also think that I would ask clients, it comes back to you have to cut something. Or you have to cut quality.
Yeah, because
I know you wanted natural stone outside, but now it's going to be pavers, brick pavers,
Or just wait.
Yeah.
And I think that's we're having a really good relationship with a contractor that gets it too, because this contractor specifically, I know they like to have finished photography. They're very savvy and
they want to do the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they actually want it to look like a finished product, which they need the design, furnishings, and window treatments, all of those soft treatments to happen. So, got to work together.
Yeah, and I don't have a clean answer on that one, unfortunately. It's hard out there, yes.
But get your contractor in early, especially now. I don't even want to try to quote stuff anymore.
I start shopping. This is the other part where it helps to bring in contractors when you're sort of at the concept, general floor plan is kind of roughed. The idea of all the finishes is kind of there. And then you can run it by a few contractors and just say, I don't need a formalized, itemized quote yet. But looking at what we're talking about, where am I between? And get something. Hey, you're going to be between X and Y. That kitchen looks like it's 125 to 200,000.
Yes,
without appliances, and at least get their number.
Something else that I've had a couple contractors do lately is they're charging for detailed bids, which I completely understand why. Clients don't love that. But the one that we're doing right now, he is going to value engineer it where it needs to. So he'll spend more time working with us to find the places.
Here's where we can cut. Yeah.
Because you want to get those numbers up, and we'll have a way more realistic budget that way instead of just change orders down the road, because that's
what normally happens.
No one wants the actual result of what we bid on.
Yeah. I'm with that. I would honestly, if it was especially if it's a big project, if the fee to create the itemized bid is proportionate to the scale of a project, that to me feels very fair, because they're going to invest a lot of time and energy into
and
that.
It goes into, and it will get applied to the final contract if they go with them.
I would do that if it got their attention.
I talked them into it. They're doing it.
I would pay to get attention from good contractors. If that's what it takes to get them to want to do it, done.
Yeah, because they're going to bring subs out, actually get things really dialed before anything happens.
I'm with it. All right. Next one. Trying to figure out the best way to receive payments. Credit cards, checks, Venmo, other. Number one, not Venmo. Venmo is not.
No.
Venmo's not business compliant. It's every CPA and accountant and bookkeeper I've ever talked to or worked with has said, please do not, because it just doesn't. It reads as personal. And
you can set it up as a business account now, but it's still, I have a really hard, I only do it for you paid me back for Las Vegas dinner or something, but it's really hard to get records, because sometimes when I have done it like that, I have to go back and freaking search, and they do not have good.
No, it's
records.
Really, it's not great if you are ever going to be audited or anything. It's just not a great platform. So that's why I'm Venmo, Zelle, you could do Zelle. I've had a few clients set up with business payments through Zelle.
Is great.
That's an ACH so ACH is a banking term, but it's just it's a direct deposit, it's basically. Legit. That's great. Yeah,
it's a wire legit. Transfer.
Right. But really large transactions.
Zelle, a lot of clients' banks have limits on what they can use. So sometimes they have a $2,500 limit or whatever. So that doesn't always work. But
right, exactly. Yeah, I could see that.
But it's instant, so that's awesome. And no fees.
Yeah, you get those payments. That would be quick. You can do wire transfers for big ones, which I've done. I know wire sounds so crazy because most people are like, oh my God, what do I do? And it's $30 to $45 of a flat fee. And if clients are paying for tens of thousands of dollars of furniture, a check is okay, but most people get freaked out. If they would like to do it, they can go to the bank. You can give them your account details. They can wire the money directly to you. And then there's no clearing. Because that's the problem with checks is you're probably going to have to wait depending on your volume. Yeah, you could have them on hold for weeks if you don't have that normally happen. So checks are fine if they want to avoid fees. Most of my clients just pay through either it was Ivy. I have people who are still transitioning from Ivy or Studio, and they're using like Stripe through Studio. And I'm using like all the things. I'm using Stripe. I've had PayPal Business, which PayPal's records are a lot more thorough and easy to work with than Venmo's. So PayPal Business, because I get like electronic payments for my consults. I have a PayPal option to book those. I think the answer is all of them.
I know.
Like,
I use all of them
options.
too. I mean, like a check is good if it's like under 20 grand. Now they don't really hold mine. You have to kind of work up to that if you don't have the transaction history, like Sean said.
Yeah. And Stripe will hold really large ones too if you get
Stripe, though,
really big ones.
So my Stripe doesn't. So this is the fucked up thing. Studio Designer created a new Stripe account for me. Did they do this for you? Now I have two Stripes.
No.
Did you use Stripe before?
Yeah.
I don't know why it did that. So now I have two versions. So my new Studio Designer Stripe account has no history. So it takes like 10 days to get any of
process.
That. So I don't use it anymore. I use my original Stripe account and send an invoice link through Stripe.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then I just back in the accounting.
Because you're not waiting on payments to clear all the time, every time you do it. So there's a little bit of jerry-rigging you got to do with this, unfortunately. But
the other thing I think
it's multiple.
And the other thing I wanted to say about ACH, because I just had last year like a pretty big client deposit that she wanted to do a wire transfer. And the nice thing about that for her was she was able to use like a money market account or something that she wouldn't have had a checkbook for.
Right.
She did a lot of like crazy financial high level
But a lot of people have that. They have like a portfolio account, or
they make
like
more money than me, so they know what they're doing.
If you have like high yield accounts through American Express, American Express will also let you wire funds from your American Express savings accounts into other accounts. So there's like lots of options. And I think in general, there's just this fear of what do I do? On my clients who are still in Ivy, I have them pay the transaction fee. I don't waive the fees. They can provide via ACH, they can do via credit card, they can also write me a check. But if they have only one option, you can't pass on the fee.
Got it.
So they have ways to avoid paying fees. And some of my clients are like, I'll just write the check because that 1.2% whatever fee, they're like, I don't want to pay it. I'm like, okay, I don't care.
I mean, for like
do what you
50
want.
50 grand, like it is something, but
yeah.
Okay.
I think showing you have options is valuable.
But also sometimes I also just kind of bake the transaction fee into my cost of doing business. And like, I'd rather just have the money if they're going to make a convenient decision to pay me.
Design fees, and
like
PayPal fees.
Pay me.
Yeah. And it's a write-off. The fees are a write-off. Sorry.
It's a write-off.
You're going to have to, that's the other thing is you have to get used to that idea that fees are part of doing business, that it's not all direct unless you're writing checks for everything, but that's going to be hard to find because a lot of clients have told me they're using points for this, they're cashing in points for stuff. Like,
as well as
I'm not going to get in the way of that.
Like, you want to create frictionless transactions for them, like especially if it's like hire me. Like, I want them to just make that decision and not have to get out their checkbook, transfer money, whatever they got to do. You know, that's a pain in the ass. Like, just click and pay me.
Yeah.
But do know you got to be a little careful because they can always cancel payments.
Yeah, I don't mind invoices so much being paid, like regular hourly or design fee invoices being paid through kind of whatever, but I do start to get anxious with product. With product, I'm like, send me a transfer, write me a check. Like,
yeah,
let's do that instead. So there we go on
just get your money.
Payments. Get paid. Okay, this one's, I'm from a kitchen design background where we always supplied cabinetry. As designers, how do you work with cabinet companies and who is responsible for final plan set? California's tough, y'all. I don't know where this question was written from, but California makes it a little hard on us that if we're selling the cabinetry, we are acting as the cabinet contractor, which contractors are a regulated type of contractor. Cabinet vendors are in California. So there's this weird in between where if it's in excess of $500 in California, that you could be seen as acting as a contractor because you're having cabinets installed and given to them. I think the difference that my CPA pointed out is that there are two things at play here. One is the cabinets themselves as a product, and the other is installation. So I'm not a CPA, but this is the recent thought was, if we are not including the actual work of installing them and putting them in, and that is paid for directly by the customer, that you may be able to separate the cabinets themselves as a product from the installation. And that would just depend on if like my local custom cabinet makers, will they separate those two invoices so I'm not in that contractor section? And if that were the case, they would still be providing like the shop plans for approval, but I'm giving them my design plan that pretty much has all the detail, but most of them want their own document. They don't want to be accused of making a mistake because it was my document. So they still create their own shop plans for approval or sign off.
And it might need to be in their own system anyway, so they have to recreate it. Yeah. And then there's that. Like,
exactly.
I don't want to fuck with cabinets at all.
There's a lot of servicing. Well, even when I'm working with custom cabinets and they're doing all the work, I'm still doing a lot.
Like, and even just like the detail of it, like I just want to do the vision, a lot of the thinking, but I want to be working with somebody who can really like dial in all the details. I've done it before with a company. She's a kitchen designer and she sells a cabinet line. So I sold the cabinets to the client, but not the installation. And then I had a warranty with the kitchen cabinet designer. If anything
she's
happened,
the seller,
because she's selling
basically.
it. She's the supplier to me. But this person, if you have a kitchen design background, like maybe it makes sense for you to become more of that kind of a vendor where you do have a cabinet line that you can sell. And then like Sean saying, like work with a installer separately, which you would anyway.
Yeah, because you can't, and again, they could be in a state where they're able to hire directly. I don't know. But
and in that
for most states, you need an installer. Yeah,
in that case, the final plan set, I think it depends on, are they custom cabinets or are they like through a third-party cabinet, like national maker that has a system, like that designer I worked with, like she worked through this like bigger company. So they had like a system that she ordered them through and it split out plans.
Yeah. And the average, I know there are designers who are making on average about 10% on all their cabinets. So if it
can definitely make you some money.
You can make a lot of money. And I get it. Like especially if you are working with a lot of custom, where you're fully creating everything from scratch and it's not like a readily produced line, I could see that coming to you very quickly because all those little add-ons that they make here and there really do make a lot of money. Like it's a great profit center if you can make it work.
I think it's like, what's your confidence level and what do you really want to get involved in?
Yeah. Like if you know that you're also going to have the money to pay for an expensive mistake, I think it's good if you're responsible for the plan sets. And if you fuck up the measurements on a really huge pantry cabinet and the whole thing needs to get replaced out of your profit, great. You took it on, you had the plan sets, you were responsible. If you can absorb that cost in your business, good on you. I would say keep some of those 10% every time because you're going to need some of that money. At some point, you will be the one to fix it if you take on the responsibility. But the nice part of having a cabinet vendor who's responsible for it is that they're going to eat that cost or they're going to harbor the responsibility.
Yeah.
So how many projects did or do you manage without employees?
Do I or should I?
I have 12 projects, all in various phases. It's not great if you don't have some help to fill in the gaps. It's really hard for me, especially to keep up with all the admin and replies and meetings and red lines and contractor questions. It's very hard if you don't have help.
Yeah, I've definitely been up to like 15, but right now I think I probably have 8, and 3 of them are like hardcore in the same, are pacing the same, and they're kind of bigger, and that isn't great. But probably half of them are dwindling, like just like tying up loose ends or finishing, like getting photos or whatever.
I had
8 to
8
10?
before I got help, and I still felt overwhelmed.
It just depends on the day for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that there's a magic number. I just think that
it depends
in
on how
truth,
big they are, how profitable they
it's
are.
how big they are and how great the contractors are going to be involved. And I do think I don't think they need to be employees. I think we've talked to designers who outsource all of their CAD work, and they have a CAD contractor who they kind of sketch out and give the basics. And then that person creates all their drawings, and then they outsource the permit sets. So that goes to like a draftsman or an architect.
Yeah, I'm not
and then
doing
they have a renderer. Like I have outsource help for all of that stuff. So they don't have to be employees, but that helps me a lot because I don't have to do all the work. I've had contractors do SketchUp models for me, so depending on how busy you are, I just think that idea of, it has to be an employee. I don't believe in that. I believe that you can support other freelancers and businesses who specialize in stuff and piece it out. It just means you're going to manage those pieces out of house, which,
there's pluses and minuses to both. And didn't like Katie Monkhouse said she has like 3, like her ideal is like 3 at a time, right? Or quarterly or something.
Yeah, like 3 a quarter, I think.
Which is kind of like mostly probably at a time. And she has a team, but they're mostly whole home, I think. So,
yeah.
Yes, I don't think it's a magic
eventually
number.
Everybody needs some type of help, whether it's just to offload some things or not. That's up to you. But at some point, you're probably going to have to offload something. Otherwise, you lose your sanity.
Probably going to lose it anyway, but
Rebecca's already losing
it. And what does your life look like? I mean,
exactly.
Do you have a podcast on the side for fun? Do you also have another?
Do you have children?
Business
do you
with
have
a friend?
A needy spouse?
You have spouses that want you to talk to them and pay attention to them. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We should do this one. This one was a hot question. We had 3 that were basically all the same question. What's the gist of those 3?
Okay, so a few from students or side hustles wanting to leap into the industry full time. Tips, inspiration on how to do that. So episode 1, if you haven't started there, we both go into our origin stories. How we started.
Marvel Universe origin stories.
I don't know. I've done this a couple times now in different career paths where I did side hustle and then launched.
Yeah.
It's kind of unhealthy. I don't know. So I don't know if there's a way to do it with self-care activated and you have close friends and families that you see a lot. Because I worked a shit ton.
I worked myself to overwhelm.
For sure.
So I wish, and that's the hard part. I have to, we've acknowledged this in previous episodes. I had a very supportive spouse. I had a runway. I had savings. I had left another career that was paying well for the work I was doing. I was being fairly compensated. If you are trying to jump from being a full-time student and working a part-time job, or it's in retail or something, that money leap is very hard if you didn't have something to start from. And I think there is a little bit of that starving artist at the beginning if you have to make a hard switch like that.
So when I started my first company it was a creative graphic design company, I had a 9-to-5 job and I did not have a spouse. I did not have savings. There was zero runway. It was just hope this parachute works. What I did do though was line up some sort of contractor gig. So that what I did in that case is I converted my full-time job into a part-time contracting position. So I knew I'd have 2 or 3 days. And it was also I talked them into how about this? You pay me basically the same, but I'm only going to work half or less the time. But I don't just disappear. You still get me. So, and I like weaned them off of, we weaned each other off of each other basically, but that worked really well. So sometimes it's just getting creative.
There's a leap of faith.
Can you get at least one job that you know that's going to like give you a month of runway? And then during that time, you got to like hustle on that job, but you got to be hustling on new jobs too. You got to believe in yourself, honestly. Like,
I know it sounds so shallow to say it that way, but I just am like, unfortunately, there is a rip off the Band-Aid phase, and it's like when the people say there's never a perfect time to have a baby. There's never a perfect time to start a business. It's only when you're going to do it. It's just, when are you going to start to do it? I wish there was a better answer. I wish I had like, if you follow these 8 steps, it will definitely work.
Should you have a savings? Like, yes.
Do you? Like, maybe not. Smart.
Do you? Maybe not.
Yeah. Would it be great if you had a spouse or someone or parents with benefits, health benefits? That'd be great.
That's like a super privileged position though. And like probably not realistic for everybody. So I think it's believing in yourself, and like something I just asked myself all the time, what's the worst that can happen, and think through that scenario. Is it?
Yeah.
Can you move in with your parents if you needed to? Is that?
I would have totally done that.
I would have had to.
I would have totally done that. Yeah. If I hadn't been already with my now husband, he was my boyfriend at the time. Yeah, I would have moved back in with my dad if I had to in order to do this. And I think sometimes that little bit of like, what kind of ego hit are you willing to take in order to achieve your dreams? And some people think, I would never do that. I would never work a part-time job at nights at Target so I could do design during the day. It's like, okay, well then that's the thing you won't do. Like for me, y'all, I literally said this, like if business slowed down enough, you could catch me driving Uber if I had to. I'm not going to give up on my design business. I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And sometimes that's the push that you need to make it appear and to like will it into existence. I wish I had something more concrete, but I don't.
But honestly, you have to kind of be willing to do that, because that's like the chutzpah that's required.
How much do you want your dream? Yeah. How much is it worth to you?
Yeah.
It's not that easy. I wish I had better.
But also get the internship. Like I've said this before, I was 41 or 42 years old and got a unpaid internship with people that were younger than me as my mentors and bosses. I learned a ton.
32.
Yeah.
I learned an intern,
and
getting paid $15 an hour, which was great 6 years ago. Like,
but it was my key into the industry.
Leaving banking.
Like there were so many things I learned that I wouldn't have, like it was just the way to like peek and be inside the curtain. So if you're willing to do whatever it takes, then you'll make it.
Yeah. You got to do it. And so to add to that is the next question we had, which is what to do about a starting point for contracts or agreements. I do not recommend hacking together a bunch of stuff from things you found on the internet. Please make sure you get something that's been reviewed and approved with an attorney. The American Society of Interior Designers, ASID, has contracts, and I know of many large prominent designers who just take that contract and then update a few things in it with the help of an attorney. Start there.
Even the fact that you have a contract is going to make clients take you more seriously.
Oh, yes.
You have to have one.
And please don't make it up. Please don't make it up. Please. You're gonna regret it so much. And the cost of one contract is gonna pay for itself. Do you know what I mean? Like, it pays for itself with what you get done. So we do have some past episodes. If you go back and listen to episode 12 with Ashley Hightower of Contracts for Creatives, we'll link in the show notes. I don't remember the episode right now, but we had Braden Drake on.
It's episode 35.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So that was a really great one where we talk about contracts. And I know that Braden also has like a contract vault. I mean, yeah, there's options for you if you need them. Start with something. Please don't try to like, please don't. I was going to make a crude remark, but please don't do this without like on your own. Like, don't bootstrap this, please. Like, that's all I'm trying to say. You're gonna regret it. Someone's gonna sue you.
Know what you were gonna say.
Oh, okay, fine. Unedited and unfiltered. I was going to say, please don't raw dog your contracts. Like, please don't. Because it's just going to be terrible. And I know everyone's like, how hard could it be? I will.
Well, first of all, I think we all know that it's not easy to become an attorney, and like no one.
Yeah, so why would you think you could write your own contract? Please don't do it.
Okay.
Please don't. Okay.
So I think, are we going to move into?
Yeah, we're going to cut it here and move some extra questions here over to our Patreon. There's some questions that we got asked about insurance, how to work with builders, some of our worst red flags or worst ever situations, and then some more questions about flat fees that we want to get a little more nitty gritty. So we're going to move those over to our exclusive Patreon episodes that are in our Loyal Hottie tier.
Yeah, because people are asking like insurance policies and what they should cost. Like, we're going to give the name of the companies that we use and what we pay. So little sneaky things. And if you've been listening for a while, especially last year when I was like going through my downward spiral with a really terrible client, I'm going to tell a little bit more of that story.
Worst client ever.
Ever. So we hope you find us over on Loyal Hotties.
Yes. And, you know, until next time,
stay hot, designers. Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.